see me. Welcome to the vlog. We're down in North Wales again, Anglesey to be precise, on White Beach, wherever it's called. Seen it on Google Maps, thought I'd give it a go. I'm having to cast about 140 yards to clear a kelp bed, and it's a nice day. Let's carry on with the rest of the vlog. Now this is pretty much the celebration of the first 12 months of fishing. I'd never been before. This date, 12 months ago, I went down to the water at New Brighton at Perch Rock. Went with some friends and cast some rods out, and there was a lot to learn. Richard offered me to go, and thank you Richard. He taught me plenty on the first session, and from there on he also invited me into a tackle company to get some cheaper tackle, which I thank him for. I've learnt plenty of rigs, I've learnt plenty of new things, and it also gave the chance for me and Debs to spend some time together. So that's what we're going to do right now. Now I did start the vlog yesterday and I went fishing for bass on Monmouth Beach. Well, just before Monmouth Beach, as you come round the corner heading towards the Dovecote, and had a lovely bass, as you can see now, and that was fishing in the top water. Now that was a target thing I wanted to do, was catch a bass off the beach and do some spinning, and he achieved it, and I was really happy with that. The only problem was the weather and the wind was that horrific that filming and putting a tripod up and getting it blown over wasn't gonna happen. So the following day we slept in the van and we come down to this place. Now I did want to fish up on some rocks and cast far out, try and catch some taupe or something like that, but the reality of it is it's a really bad tide, and the only time I can get to go fishing is kind of back now. The other thing I've done is I picked up a rod which is quite cheap, which is an Abu Garcia Premier, and I was kind of shocked at that because I found out when I went into a local tackle shop that the rod itself is nearly 30 years old, and it was 200 to 240 pound brand new, and it's never been used. So I thought I'd give that a go, and what I found is that rod is absolutely sublime. It's a lovely rod, and I think I'm going to change my rods at some point. I think I'm going to go either Century, Ziplex, not entirely sure, because I'm finding that the Continental rods have been used and they're okay, they're fine, don't get me wrong, but I want something a little bit more special. So what am I fishing with today? Well, I'm fishing with pulley rigs and pennels set up to get the weight up if I get fish out of the rocks and up and away from any obstruction in the water as quickly as possible. It's a lovely sunny day. It's currently about 25 degrees. Debs is with me sunbathing, and that's what she wanted in the first place. When I said we're going to go sea fishing, this is what she wanted. She wanted to be on the beach, getting some sun, getting the shades on and enjoying herself. That's exactly what you've got now. She says well, it's not exactly what she wants. She wants a lot more than that. She wants sand, don't you? She wants a sand. So anyway, my right hand rod, I've dropped onto the Ultegras now. C14s is what they call. Well, they've got a different name from these ones we've got. Right hand rod is a rough ground Cobra Vicelli, and like I said, I've got the Abu Garcia Premier. They're two good rods. I'm just hoping to get a knock. I've had a couple of knocks so far on the left hand rod, and I'm fishing with squid and black worm blog. I did want to get some mackerel, that's the reason why I come down here, but conditions and the fishing for mackerel is hit and miss at least around here. At best it's hit and miss. It's not very good at the moment. I'm fishing about, from this beach, I'm fishing about 130, 140 yards. I may have to go further, but I've got a nice donk when it lands. But I know there's kelp beds and rocks before that, hence why I'm going that distance. I'm okay at that kind of distance. If I need to go further, I will go further. I'm fishing past the buoys. There's some buoys which are out there. I'm fishing past the buoys. The only problem with that is if you do get something nice and it takes you around the buoys, that might be a real problem for me. Oh well, at least we're out, eh? Now, to cut a long story short, with all the rocks and the kelp and everything in that swim, it was an absolute nightmare. The first couple of casts was fine, but it wasn't like casting on a flat beach where you're hitting either a gully or a sandbank, and it's easy to fish that kind of ground. Rough ground is completely different. So I decided then to go back and have a look at the areas about the bass. I'm getting more and more interested in the bass and the rough ground and the travelling to these marks, but I will still be doing some fishing on the beach for, you know, your smooth downs, your rays, and well, all the different kind of things that's out there. But for the meantime, let's go and have a look at these rough marks, and we'll talk a little bit more about my adventures trying to catch some bass and my thoughts as a novice, a sheer novice, and that's what we're going to do now. Well, that was a disaster. 3 casts, rough ground, 3 lost rig. So we decided to come back down to where we caught a bass, down this neck of the woods here. Plenty of weed, rocks. It's not ideal conditions because we've got virtually no tide to speak of. It's like a lake and not the ocean, as you can see. It's warm and sunny. Debs has got a gilet on and she's going to be fishing with me there. Now we're going to try and see if we can kind of catch another bass. I tried to pump some worm, got one, but they're all little ones, and there's a lot of like stone in this beach here, about 6 inches of mud and sludge, and then the worms just disappear into the bottom of that. So we're going to catch Darling?
Yeah.
I think so. We'll try anyway, at least we're out, aren't we? Alright, let's crack on. See, look, this is where all the bass hang out. See all the rocks and weed and crevices and flying fish. Is that you? Deb's just putting a fish in front of me, in front of the camera, flying fish. Yeah, thanks Debs. So yeah, this is one of the marks where there's loads of bass, high water, low water. We've stayed over there. That car is. So yeah, I'm using a copy of a Pachenko, which is there. It works okay. To be fair, I didn't catch the bass yesterday on that. I caught it on one of those weed type lures that buries its hook points in the silicone, and then when the fish strikes it releases the hook and you catch the fish. That's pretty much it. Oh, Deb's going for a sunbathe. Is that where you're going? Sunbathing? Yeah. So I'm just going to cast out in this area here and see if we can catch something. Hey ho. Now, watching countless YouTube videos, I've come to notice and take note that all the areas that is most conducive for bass is amongst these kind of rocks, this kind of weed. The conditions you think I really don't want to send a fishing lure that's cost £20, £8, even £1 into, because you think you're going to lose it. Chances are you will. But you have to work the ocean the way you need to work it. Fishing the top water, fishing just underneath it, fishing weedless lures that don't pick the weed up, and if they do, tough luck, you've lost the actual lure. You can have a go at it and try and pull it out, but this is where you need to be fishing. Now, not saying that you can't catch fish off the beach, a normal beach, bass especially, you can, but that's when you can use the lures that trail along the bottom with the hooks exposed. This guy here was fishing, he was fishing in the top water and he was enjoying himself, and that's how mobile you've got to be. You've got to travel light, a little bag on your back, a small rod, a little reel, make sure you've got the right attire on for the conditions required, and get out there and get some fishing. So let's talk about the lures that I bought in my back garden. Now we're back home. This is where I wanted to kind of have a little bit of a better understanding of the products I'm going to be using in the future. Now, lures were something that I never used before, and now I'm starting to find different uses for them and have a better understanding of them. But confidence is something that I need to develop and grow. Because if you used to buy any kind of lure and you put it in your little bag, you're not sure what you're fishing with really, unless you're watching YouTube. You get to speak to people who go fishing, and the only thing I had was some guys who used to go beach fishing but not lure fishing. So I went about buying some lures, and they come in many different guises. Now these ones here, these are Fantail's V2 weedless. They're weedless lures. It was a bigger version than that, but in white, that I caught that big bass in North Wales. I mean, they're quite expensive. If you look at that one, that's like, there's two in that one with the head on it, and it's £8.49. So lures can be quite expensive. And you're thinking that if you're buying lures, it's going to break the bank. I mean, I've now started to split them up into different lures. Like this box here, I've got like top water lures all tangled up. I need to get these organised better. Oh, here we go. So like with top water lures, I bought a load of these. Now these are copies of the Pachenko, which are £20 odd. They're all tangled together, look. I need to get that sorted. In fact, I'll put them down there. Oh, nightmare. And then I got these ones like little divers, and these dive down like little plugs, I think what they are. These dive down and wiggle and rattle and roll. Same as the Pachenkos. Like that one, that's got a little, well, fake Pachenkos. These are like kind of got little rattles in them as well. But if you look on the front there, the way they're angled, there's like kind of an angle on the front of the fish. There, the imitation fish, that pushes the actual lure on the top. And with it being buoyant, it stays on the top. So the first ones I got from Amazon. Now I did another video before, I was trying to find out what lures they use, and I was none the wiser. Nobody helped me really. People just ignored the video. Only about half a dozen people watched it. I went on Amazon and I bought all these kind of jellies. Yep, all these things, which you're going to use in the rivers, at the sea, all over the place. And they work, they've wriggled about, and I've now learned what these do. Is, for instance, when you got the weight, I've got one in the bag. Yeah, got one here. When you got these, you got the weight, the line coming off the front there. They drop down like so. The tail waggles when you're reeling it in. But if you notice, the point of the hook is at the top of the fish. So when it's bouncing along the bottom like that, and you're bringing it up, the hook's always staying at the top. So when there's not a lot of weed and you're going over rocks and rough ground, it actually bounces over the top of the hooks. And when it does get caught on a rock, if you give it a bit of a poing with your rod and do that kind of motion with the rod, it does free itself. So I'm going to go down to the river Roach and fish with that, or with them. That's what I'm going to first start with. And then at the ocean, I'm going to fish with these kind of things as well. These are the similar kind of things. They're called soft jelly lures, that kind of thing. And very similar principle. You can bounce off all the rocks with a hook at the top and bounce that along. The next one, deeper water, you've got like the seekers. These are ones where it's open water and you can troll an open beach, no rocks or weed, and try and pick them up with that, and that can go in various depths. So there's a lot to learn so far, and that's what I'm going to try and find out. Then I've got the old eBay specials or Amazon, that kind of thing. These are like kind of little shrimp things, day glow. I'm guessing that illuminates at night time. I'm going to use them in abundance at some point. See, it doesn't stop. It doesn't stop. And then you go for your pike and your deeper water off the boat and that kind of thing with these kind of lures. It just doesn't stop. But I'll tell you, the weedless ones for the bass, that's the one to go for. The top waters, like these aren't Pachenkos, they're a copy of a Pachenko. These actually stay along the surface of water and rattle they're good. So it's top water, and I've got these kind of plugs as well. There we go. Can you see them? They're really cool. They kind of rattle as well. You can hear that. These are about £2.50. They're on cheap plugs. Not sure the name of the company they come from, but it's not important. These kind of go from the top, come down about 1 metre, and you can let them rise up again, and then down again, rise up again, and you can fish them above rocks, weed on the bottom of the lake. Yeah, they're quite good as well. So there's going to be copious amounts of videos on me doing lure fishing, pike fishing, roach fishing, and back out to sea using these kind of critters as well. As you can see, that one, there's a lot to choose from. There's literally hundreds and hundreds of lures. Now after a couple of years I will do my top 10 lures so far. You know, that's what I'm going to do. The other problem we've got with these things is storing them, so I need to get a lure box, put them in, because it's easy for all these to get all mixed up. Anyway, enough of the chat and the twaddle. I'm going to try and put that into action and try and have a look at the River Roach. If I catch, I catch. If I don't catch, I don't catch. It's not the end of the world, but it gives me the chance and the opportunity to try and understand lure fishing and all the different lures that we use. Right, let's nip down there. Right, now we've had a look at a few bits and pieces that I bought. I've got yet more to get. I'm going to nip down to the river and see if we can get either trout or perch, something like that. That's what I'm going to do. So let's skedaddle down there and take a look at the River Roach, because that's where I'm going. Right, so down on the River Roach, we're on the bridge, and with the future son-in-law, Will.
Hi.
There's a bit camera shy, I'm guessing, and this is where we're going to be fishing, spinning on this old river. This is a water inlet down there, as you can see, and we're going to be going along the valley. Used to valleys, won't you?
Yeah.
Will's from Wales, that's why I say that. Be used to the valleys, towards Swansea way, that way on, and we're going to have a look down there. Hopefully might get some trout, Will.
100%.
Perch, that kind of thing. Right, let's go and have a look and see what's what.
Just a spoon on this one.
I'm going to see what I've got in my bag of treats. Fish treats. Might go with that. Can't see him yet. And I'm going to go with that little critter there. What do you call that? It's a jelly, isn't it? A jelly lobe, but it's a fantail. Is it called a fantail?
I think it's a fantail.
I'm not sure it's a fantail, but I'm going to use that with it being slightly darker in the water. I'm going to cast out, put it out and see if I catch anything with it. Got a speed link on there, built fluorocarbon and £60 line. The fluorocarbon's £15 line. Same reel as I'd use on the ocean. I've got a Sienna by Daiwa there, and a Northwestern medium spinner, 9 foot. Time to get my Headcam on. I didn't warn Will about using the camera when I go fishing. To be honest, the thought never crossed his mind, even though he knows to do YouTube videos. It never even crossed his mind until just now, and he's like, oh shit. That's what he thought. Right, I'm going to get the Headcam on now, and then take it from there. Make sure I don't slip and fall into the river. That's something I'd do. Bit overgrown. I get stung by nettles, got to be careful down there. Bit of a drop. Now let's have a look. See what we've got. Just disturbed a wagtail then. Set that over there. I'm gonna send it up and down and see if we can get anything of any interest. Kingfishers, 2 kingfishers. Underneath it looks like an old railway bridge. Let's just give this a zap up there. I didn't want to do that. That's silly. That was close. Wagtail over there as well. You could get in your waders here, couldn't you? And just walk up the river. So switched over now to this one. It's like a roach imitation, but the weight's inside the fish and the hook is on the top. Nice sharp hook there, which means it bumps along when you're pulling it. It goes nose down first, and then you can pull it up again like a dying fish or a fish that's fading. But because the hook's on the top, when you're pulling it, you've got less chance of it snagging on the rocks or debris on the bottom. And as you can see there, that's how it is. You can bump it up and down. So see if we catch something with that now. Now we're trying various different lures and casting time and time again. I found my confidence of fishing over rough ground, especially over these rapids, increased. And I know by doing this and going to the coast, I'll be more confident with the lures. This is the perfect opportunity to learn how these things work. That's such a lovely river, but the next time I come down, it's only a shallow river. I need to come in waders. I need to come in waders, that's for sure. Then I can walk right the way up the river, hit underneath the snags that you can't get any other time. What I'm going to try and do along this wall now, I'm just going to try and work in deeper water. Right, so that's the roach. I've learnt that. It's given me a load of confidence for fishing with the jellies, and the next step is going to be fishing with these at the coast or trying to get some pike at some point. The river roach looks beautiful. It's a very shallow river at the moment. It does go a lot deeper when there's a lot of water coming through it. When I first started fishing it was like kind of a little bit muddy, then it cleared out really quickly. I managed to bounce the lures across the river surface on the bottom over the rocks, and I can do that near the waterfalls and that kind of thing, and it gave me a lot of confidence about how to use the same lures at the sea, bouncing for the bass in between the rocks and the weed. So I need the weedless ones when I've got the weed there as well, but there's no weed, it's just rocks in the ocean. Then I'll use the jellies and bounce it over the rocks. I lost 2 lures in total, my own fault. One casting into a tree and one casting into a log that was caught up in a weir. So that's only my own stupidity, but I must have cast the lure about 200 times in about 2 hours just to have a look at it, the river that is, and that was fine. The next step is I realised on that river I need to take some waders, go out and walk up the river, well down the river should I say, not the river, down the river, and try and find these whirlpools, these areas where I can slowly walk down the river and try and find the trout and the predator fish. That's what we're going to do. Thanks for watching this vlog. It's just put together randomly just to put content together, because the YouTube channel is going to be changing quite a bit, where it's going to be float fishing, course fishing, carp fishing, everything, not just carp fishing, which it has been guilty of doing for quite a number of years now. But I found my personal fishing and needs have completely changed. So again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next video. Putting my kit away now.